Next on AM 1480 WLEA, the Newsmaker Show. Here's Brian O'Neill.
And very glad to have with us here in segment one, as determined by the coin toss, Steuben County Democrat legislator Randy Weaver. His GOP opponent, Paul Van Caeseele, will be up in segment two. We've asked both candidates off the air to not really discuss each other, because otherwise we anticipate that the request for equal time would go on quite a bit, and tomorrow is Election Day. So with having said that, welcoming now Randy Weaver. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Brian. I'd like to thank you and WLEA for giving me this opportunity today. I only wish that my opponent had stuck with our original agreement where we'd appear simultaneously and maybe give a more direct dialogue to the people listening. But that being said, let's move forward and get on with it.
And here we go. We're talking to Steuben County Democrat legislator Randy Weaver. Randy, let's start out with a big issue in Steuben County, and that'd be taxes.
Well, luckily for the county, we have a very good management team in place. And for the last probably at least 3 years, I know, our tax rates have been flat. We haven't really raised any extra money. We've dealt with the taxes, the revenues as they have been. We've stayed underneath the 2% tax cap. I am confident in telling you that this year there will be a slight 1% probably tax increase at the county level, with a decrease in your tax rate. Unlike the city, which has had a 6% raise this year in their tax rate, we at the county know how important it is to the people to keep their taxes low so they can afford to stay in their houses. So we are working diligently at the county to maintain that for everyone.
Okay, talking with Randy Weaver, the Steuben County Democrat legislator, here in segment one. And in your interview with the Evening Tribune yesterday, you talked about the money that the county gives to Hornell for bridge repair. You said they have 14 bridges in Hornell.
I believe that's correct, yes. Yeah, so we're the city with the most bridges in the whole county. Years ago, when I first started this 12 years ago, every year there was a $100,000 money that came from the county budget to aid us with our bridge repair maintenance issues. And then as budget times got tight in the 2008 area, some of the legislators thought that it would be a great idea to remove that $100,000 from the city. I fought tooth and nail to have it reinstated for 2-3 years in a row. And then working with the mayor at the time, we came with a better plan where we incorporate the sales tax revenue with the bridge funding, so it's a steady stream. And over time, that value, instead of being $100,000, now is probably at least $150,000, if not more, that we are able to bring to the city to stabilize the budget for the city, so they know exactly how much money they're going to get every year from sales tax, and it makes a much better program and process for the city.
Okay. County lawmaker Randy Weaver, we had Joe Sempolinski, the county Republican chair, on last Monday, a week ago today at this time, and then for equal time the next day, Tuesday, we had Sean Hogan, the county Democrat chair, on. And one of the things Sean Hogan said was that having you in the Democrat minority helps keeps things balanced in county government. Your thoughts on that statement from Sean Hogan?
Well, I think I appreciate Sean for his good words. And yes, it's a two-party system. So if you only have one party in all the seats, like they have in Allegheny County, where it's all the legislators are Republicans, it doesn't give any voice to the other side. Plus, it has a moderating factor where you can look at things from a different lens and see where changes need to be made. Some areas where maybe the funding is being a little bit spent erratically. Case in point, I know in the article, my opponent said that I voted against the CAP funding. The reason I voted against the CAP funding wasn't because of the funding. It was because it added 5 new sheriff's deputies at one shot to the tax rolls and payroll of the county. Each deputy starting salary with benefits is probably $65,000 or more. Multiply that times 5. You've got a $325,000 tax increase off the get-go to the taxpayers. I thought it would be much more beneficial to start with 2 deputies, see how the program went, and then if they needed more deputies, they should bring them, the sheriffs should come back and ask for those positions so we could fund them incrementally instead of giving a carte blanche check to the sheriff to just hire as many people as he wanted.
Okay. And on the topic of law enforcement, how is the centralized arraignment program going in Hornell with the arraignments being done over in Bath, I believe in the county courthouse?
Yes. Well, actually, it depends on when they're doing. They do them twice a day. Every 12 hours there's an arraignment. At the current time, when the city judges are not available and off hours, they're doing them actually at the public safety building, the jail, and they have a number of different judges from around the county that come and fill in and do their shifts. It's working relatively well. I think it's going better than what the DA had told us last week. It seems to be going better than what they kind of expected it would be going. And it's a new program, so of course we're always working out the bugs in all these new programs as we go along, as they're handed down from the state without any real direction or guidance. We kind of have to figure it out ourselves. But having said that, the next wave is starting in January is a new system with the cashless bail and those kind of arrangements. So this is going to be, so we'll see what happens going forward after January.
Okay. Steuben County Democrat legislator Randy Weaver. We're down to about 3 minutes left in this segment. What would you like to talk about? Go ahead.
Well, I'd like to talk about the changes that have occurred in the last 12 years since I've been there. I've been through, 2 county administrators, 3 deputy administrators, 3 county chairmen. We've gone from the old system of organization of the county based on just a continuous changing of laws. So now we have a charter system, which is much more streamlined and efficient. We've been able to get the tax system. We've leveled out a lot. By going to the charter, we can do some things that the state mandates that we can kind of sidestep, I guess. And I just like to say that even though I am running as I am a Democrat due to the shenanigans pulled on my petitions at the get-go, I will be running on the For the People Party. So you'll have to look for me down the line towards the bottom of the page, which is just unfortunate that the opponent's camp decided that the only way they could have a fair shot or any shot at winning, I guess, would be to play these silly games. So unfortunately, I feel bad for the residents who don't stay on top of the situation or will be looking for me and not find me, and hopefully will read the whole ballot and put me through. It's been a pleasure to serve. There's a lot that goes on to county. I think that there's more there than people realize with over 600 employees, multiple different departments, and trying to organize and balance the interests of the city along with the interests of the county and make sure that Hornell receives its fair share of funding and its interests are addressed. It's a real balancing act, and I think it's a lot more than people understand. So that's about it. Anything else?
Okay, Randy Weaver, you do have a minute and 5 seconds left. Do you want me to go to the commercial and end the segment, or anything left to say?
There's a couple of things I'd like to talk about. As far as other issues within the county, there's the opioid epidemic, which we've been working on diligently. The county has been funding the Catholic Charities Group, which lost its funding, and so we've been trying to make sure that they get their funding done so that they can continue working with the outreach programs. And so that's another issue that it needs to be. Is probably if they don't get their funding this year, it's a grant it's a 5-year grant that they did not get reawarded, and that's something going forward that we're going to have to really look at is how we're going to fund it if their grant money does not come through. Which, as we all know, it's a major issue in the county, the opioid epidemic. So that's about it. Hope people will vote for me, and it's been a pleasure working with the legislature and representing the city of Hornell.
With that, we're going to take a break. Thank you very much, Randy Weaver. Stay with us for Paul Van Caeseele.
Our Facebook page lists upcoming show guests and more. Like us on Facebook or AM 1480 WLEA.
The Ryan Agencies, your local independent insurance agencies. When you buy from the Ryan Agency, you're supporting local business, not some national chain with home offices in, say, Hoboken. Their office is here, right in your backyard. Contact the Ryan Agencies today, your local source for all things insurance.
Insurance protection you can rely on. The Ryan Agency.
WLEA and WCKR radio stations are equal opportunity employers. There are many challenging careers available in the radio industry, from being an announcer to secretarial work. And being a radio salesperson can be a very rewarding career. We are equal opportunity employers and welcome any and all applications for future openings on our staff. Our studios are located just outside the city of Hornell on County Highway 64.
Checking in now with meteorologist Gary Best, who's in for Rob Carolyn this morning. Gary saying we're going to have snow later this week. Will it be a lot of snow?
It doesn't look like a lot. Looks like at least a minor amount of snow, but the trend is going to be for colder and somewhat snowier weather by late this week into early next week as well. Now, for today, we're mostly cloudy and breezy. This morning's sunrise was at 6:48. It'll set at 5:01 p.m., and temperatures will be around 45 to 50 during today, kind of breezy as well. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a few showers, mainly later at night, and down to about 40 or so by morning. Morning showers end, then mostly cloudy and breezy, upper 40s on Tuesday afternoon. Maybe a flurry or two at night around 30, and then partly sunny by Wednesday in the 40s, but again colder in the 30s for Thursday and Friday with clouds and a chance of snow showers, Brian.
And we are back with Paul Van Caeseele, the Republican candidate. And we timed it out. Randy had exactly 10 minutes, and Paul will get the same. Paul Van Caeseele, the Hornell GOP chair and owner of Stellar Entertainment. Thank you for coming on.
All right. Thank you, Brian. It's great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss the future of Hornell with hopefully my future constituents out there. And it's great to be here with you this morning, and thank you and WLEA for having me on.
Great, and we apologize for any confusion in the beginning there with the coin toss.
Absolutely, no problem.
Paul Van Caeseele, let's start out with the same question we asked your opponent, Democrat Randy Weaver. Paul Van Caeseele, the Republican candidate, your thoughts on taxes from Steuben County government?
Well, before we get started on that, Brian, I do want to just reply to Randy's initial statement about this not being our original agreement in terms of the format of the interview. Actually, this is our original agreement. They wanted to do something different, but because we agreed not to discuss individuals on this format, and then he broke that rule in the first 5 seconds. So that's why I wanted to go to this one, so we didn't get in kind of a heated debate. I really don't think the listeners want to hear that kind of thing on the radio, and especially my supporters. And so I just wanted to keep it clean, and that's why I agreed to the format that we're in now. Also, before I touch on the tax topic as well, I know Randy mentioned that there were some shenanigans about his petitions. The truth is we all have to work on the same agreements with the petitions. We're all under the same thing. We all have to go out. I'm not saying that it's not an archaic system, but the Steuben County chairman on the Republican side looks at everybody's petitions as running on the Democrat side. So, and when he did that, The only reason Randy's got challenged is because his were the only ones bad enough to be challenged, and that's why he got thrown off the ballot. And to be honest with you, I question if he's not committed enough to even get his petition straight. Is he really committed enough to serve the constituents of the area? Now, the situation. I actually think, with the tax situation, the county is doing a pretty good job, and I don't really have any complaints in terms of the job that the county is doing. I do want to work, to ensure that the tax dollars are appropriated effectively and in a responsible manner, and that but we can bridge the gaps between the Steuben County and the city to pool those funds to streamline the efficiency of those funds in terms of working on particular projects. We did receive bridge aid at one time through the county. That has been eliminated. I would like to see that restored. Hornell has the most bridges of any municipality in Steuben County, and so it's very important that we get that aid back into the city so we can make sure to begin to repair the bridges and, to continue repairing the bridges that Mayor Buckley has done so well to stimulate as of now. But that being said, a fresh pair of eyes is always great in terms of seeing how we can cut taxes even more and to continue to foster the programs that we already have in place.
Okay, talking in this segment with Republican county legislative candidate Paul Van Caeseele. Paul, the GOP chair who you referenced in your answer there, Joe Sempolinski, he said about you that you work very hard and that he's very impressed with your campaign and that you've done a lot of door-to-door campaigning. Wondering what kind of issues do you think are impacting Steuben County?
That's a great question. Randy touched on a couple of those, and I think we're on the same page with those. The opioid problem, the exploding opioid drug problem in Steuben County is a huge issue. We really got to kind of get that under wraps and gain control on that. How do we do it? It's a tough call. You really have to pool our resources and kind of tighten the reins and get some control over these opioids in terms of regulating the doctor's offices, how they're prescribed, and other situations like that. Now, this is the problem with the opioid thing: is it expands over everybody. It doesn't discriminate. It affects everybody: rich, poor, young, old, and all walks of life. And it can have devastating consequences. And I would just want to see us bridge the gap between the city and the county to see if we can pool our resources and make sure that we tackle that problem as well. Also, I know Randy touched on the CAP program, which is the Central Arraignment Plan. And that has to do with taking arraignments out of the city and having Hornell police officers transport prisoners to Bath. That originally would have cost the taxpayers $100,000 in the first year. Mayor Buckley came up with a revised plan, sent it through to the county. They kept costs to a minimum, although there is still costs associated with that, which I believe that we can eliminate in the future. My opponent, Randy, voted against those. So he voted against that. And so if that original plan went through, he would have left the county taxpayers holding a $100,000 bill. And why did he do that? I'm not sure. Sometimes I think it's just partisan politics.
Talking and just this reminder, if we could stay off the opponent. I know you feel that was compromised at the beginning, but the less of that, I think, the better. We're talking with Paul Van Caeseele, the GOP candidate for Steuben County Legislature. You're talking about the different issues. We talked about the Central Arraignment Plan in the first segment. Wondering, did you have any thoughts on that? That, of course, for our listeners, is the rule that anyone arrested by the Hornell Police Department who has to be arraigned gets arraigned in Steuben County Court. Your thoughts on that process, Paul Van Caeseele?
Well, I just touched base on that in the last segment.
Sure.
But like I said, I do think we kept costs down to a minimum by putting through a revised plan. But it's there's constant new mandates that are being passed down from Albany, which are costing Hornell money and the taxpayers money as well. There's a new mandate by the state government which affects all law enforcement agencies and passes those costs down to the local citizens, down to the city. So that's and the county. So that's a new struggle that we got to deal with, because now we got to figure out how do we cover those costs. And basically, what's going on is the state doesn't want to pay for their new the new rearrangement of the defense program, so they're passing it down to the county and the state, or the county and the city. So now we have to figure out how to reappropriate those funds to cut costs and accommodate those situations. I think a fresh pair of eyes would be a fantastic way to get some innovative ideas on there. And one thing I'm really excited about.
And we're down to the last minute and a half or so, Paul.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Great. One thing I'm really excited about, though, is I think that being in my position, I understand social media and technology can play a huge part on communicating to the constituents exactly what's going on at the county level. This position is quite an elusive one. And in fact, I think if many of the residents ask themselves, who was their county rep, they didn't know. One thing I want to do is create heightened visibility and awareness to the position so I can let the constituents know that I'm here for them. And they can always rely on me. I stay visible in the community. I'm out at activities and local events all the time. And I'll be using new forms of social media and technology to get to make sure that we communicate our concerns to the county.
Okay, you have 30 seconds left. Would you like to use that?
Yeah. One thing that I do have left to say is that I know, and I don't want to mention it. I only mention one more time. I'm sorry, but I know that Randy said he made this statement himself. He only wants to wrap it up after this term if he wins. He's only interested in one more term. Well, I don't know if he's got plans for the salary or whatever, but I'm only about the future, so I'll take as many terms as I can get. So the difference is I'm not looking forward to an end, because all I can promise you is that I'm just getting started.
And with that, we've got to go. I want to thank both Randy Weaver and Paul Van Caeseele for coming on today, and that ends the segment. Thank you very much for listening to the Newsmaker Show. Brian Kilmeade is next.